On a gentle afternoon, when the air carries the scent of damp earth and the whisper of leaves brushing softly against one another, we meet again here at TERAFLORA Studio. This is a place where every idea is more than decoration. It is a journey that brings forgotten objects back to life, weaving them into gardens that hold stories in every petal and every patch of moss. Today, we will wander slowly through quiet corridors of inspiration. With each step, we will find a new tale, from shards of glass that shimmer like water, to bottles reborn as lanterns, to old chairs transformed into blooming thrones. Each one is crafted with a single purpose: to discover beauty in unexpected places, and to give a home to imagination that once lay sleeping. But before we go further, I must speak clearly. This content has been crafted with the assistance of AI. It is a tool that helps shape words, refine ideas, and weave details so each story flows smoothly and gently into your thoughts. And though it is born through technology, every line is wrapped in warmth and human care. So what you hear feels alive, real, and welcoming. If you find peace here, if you feel inspired, or simply enjoy seeing the world through a softer lens, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Let the notification be a small invitation to return, calling you back each time a new story blooms, each time an idea is ready to grow in the garden of your heart. So take a seat, breathe in the quiet air of this moment, and let the words carry you into a world where waste turns into wonder, and every corner of the garden holds a secret, waiting to be found. There is a quiet corner of the garden where laughter seems to linger, as if the air itself remembers the voices of those who once passed by. Here, a humble wheelbarrow, once weary from years of carrying soil and tools, has been given a second life. Its body, now painted in soft pastel blue, rests gently among marigolds and daisies, the chipped edges softened by time and care. Within its shallow cradle lies a miniature world. Moss creeps across the soil like a green velvet carpet, cushioning tiny gravel paths that wind their way between blooms. Broken teapots, porcelain once meant for afternoon tea, now stand as whimsical cottages. Their missing lids, their hairline cracks, their faded floral patterns no longer flaws, but features that tell a story. One cradles a spill of trailing thyme, another bursts with clusters of lavender, their fragrance mixing with the warm scent of sunlit earth. A chipped sugar bowl, nestled near the wheelbarrow's edge, serves as a wishing well, its tiny pebbles glistening when the light catches them just so. Miniature fairy figurines peek from behind fern leaves, their tiny painted faces frozen in expressions of quiet wonder. Bees wander in lazily, hovering above blooms, while a butterfly briefly lands on the curved handle, as if to rest and admire. Creating a fairy garden like this asks more for imagination than expense. A broken teapot can be found in thrift stores or perhaps at the back of your own cupboard, its imperfections ready to be reborn. Begin by painting your wheelbarrow soft blues, creamy whites, or even a sunny yellow, and sealing it to protect against weather. Arrange your broken pieces among moss and low-growing plants like creeping thyme, small succulents, or mini violas. Add fine gravel to form meandering paths, and tuck in bits of driftwood or tiny stones for natural texture. The beauty of this design is in its invitation to slow down. As you tend to it, adding new details here and there, you find yourself leaning closer, noticing the tiniest leaves, the way dew pools on a porcelain rim in the early morning. This little world inside a wheelbarrow reminds you that broken things can still hold life, that something once forgotten can bloom again in unexpected ways. On the side of a garden wall, where once there was nothing but plain wood weathered by seasons, a tree now rises, not from soil, but from human hands and second chances. Its roots twist outward, curling into patterns that speak of growth and resilience, while the branches spread wide, filled with leaves made from hundreds of colorful bottle caps. Each cap tells a story. Some once sealed bottles of soda shared at summer picnics, Others came from jars long emptied of pickles or preserves. Their colors, sapphire, tangerine, moss green, sunflower yellow, have been cleaned, flattened, and arranged with care, each one a leaf on this handmade tree. The trunk, crafted from painted scrap metal, has been given a rich bronze hue, catching the light in the late afternoon and glowing warmly against the wall. Below, snapdragons and marigolds bloom, as if to echo the sculpture's palette. A vine of ivy climbs quietly, wrapping the tree's roots, as though the wall art itself were alive. Butterflies pause longer here, drawn perhaps to the bright colors, or maybe to the feeling this place gives off. A space where beauty isn't bought, but built. Making a bottle cap tree of life requires patience, but not perfection. Start by collecting caps in every color you can find. Friends and neighbors often have jars full of them without realizing. Wash and flatten each one, either by gentle hammering or pressing. Sketch your tree design on paper first, mapping where the roots, trunk, and branches will spread. For the base, you can use a sheet of reclaimed wood or a garden fence panel. Attach the caps with weather-resistant glue or small nails, layering them for a textured effect. Don't be afraid to mix hues for a more natural look. Nature's leaves are never all the same green. Let some caps fade naturally in the sun over time. The weathering will add depth to your design. And when your tree is complete, surround it with real blooms to blur the line between the art and the living garden. As days pass, sunlight will shift across the metal leaves. Birds will perch on the fence nearby, and the wall that once stood bare will instead hold a declaration. Beauty can rise from what others throw away, and roots don't always need soil to grow. Along the length of a sun-warmed garden fence, the ordinary has been coaxed into something extraordinary. Old baking trays, dented metal tins, chipped picture frames, things once tucked away in dusty corners, now bloom with life and color. Their surfaces, brushed with soft layers of sage green, blush pink, and creamy white, have been given a new role to cradle growing things. Succulent rosettes spill from the hollow of a rusted pan, their fleshy leaves catching the light like tiny jewels. A chipped wooden frame holds a pocket of soil where ivy begins its slow, determined climb. Lavender cuttings nod gently in the summer breeze from within a once-forgotten teapot mounted high on the wall. Together, they create a living mosaic, part memory, part garden, part gallery. The beauty here lies in the mingling of textures. Cool metal meets soft petals. Rough wood holds the green weight of new leaves. No two pieces are the same, yet they speak in harmony, telling a story of reuse and quiet creativity. Beneath this vertical display, roses lean upward as if in admiration, while bees move lazily from bloom to bloom, brushing against the painted edges of the wall art. To create your own vintage trash wall art, start by gathering a collection of discarded kitchenware, trays, and frames. Look for pieces with characters, scratches, dents, faded colors. Clean them thoroughly, then paint or distress them to suit your garden's palette. Drill small drainage holes where necessary, especially for metal containers. Plant with cuttings of drought-tolerant species, succulents, small herbs, or trailing flowers that can thrive in limited soil. Attach each piece securely to a fence or wall, mixing sizes and shapes for an organic look. Let some plants cascade down to soften the edges, and group similar colors together for a visual rhythm. Over time, nature will add her own touches. Sun will fade the paint in places. Rain will deepen the patina. Vines will thread through empty spaces. This style of wall art doesn't ask for perfection. Instead, it rewards patience and play. Each season brings small changes. Each plant a reminder that life continues in the most unexpected vessels. What was once scrap becomes a frame for green beauty, and the garden gains not just plants, but a wall that tells a story worth stopping to read. High above the garden beds, where the leaves whisper in the breeze, color dances between branches. Suspended by lengths of twine and ribbons, old bottles, once clear, plain, and easily forgotten, now shine in bold strokes of ruby, sapphire, emerald, and gold. Sunlight pours through them, scattering bits of rainbow onto petals, soil, and the curious faces that pass below. Some bottles hum softly with the gentle chime of bells hidden within. Others carry strings of beads that catch the light, shifting from deep jewel tones to pale flashes as they sway. The movement is never hurried. It's a quiet rhythm, like a lullaby sung by the wind. Children stop mid-step to watch the bottles sway. Garden visitors find themselves smiling without knowing why. Even the flowers below seem to lift their faces higher when the light lands on them in sudden bursts of color. It is a magic that is simple yet deep, a reminder that beauty often comes from noticing the small and the unexpected. Creating these rainbow wind charms begins with collecting bottles in different shapes and sizes. Any glass will do, though the more varied the form, the more playful the display. Clean them thoroughly, then paint them with glass paint or acrylics mixed with a sealing medium. Choose colors that sing in the sunlight, bright primaries for bold cheer, or layered tones for a softer, jewel-like glow. Once painted, thread strong twine or ribbon through the bottlenecks. If you wish for music as well as color, drop in a small bell before hanging, or attach bead strings that will click gently in the wind. Find a branch that catches both sunlight and a steady breeze. Hang the bottles at varying heights to create movement and depth. Over time, the paint may weather, softening into pastel washes. The sound of the bells will blend into the background of your garden's daily song. The hum of bees, the rustle of leaves, the occasional call of a bird. And as you pass beneath them, you may feel the way a moment of beauty can pull you gently out of thought into pure seeing and listening. This is the gift of hanging rainbow bottles. Not only color in the air, but joy in motion, offered freely to anyone who happens to look up. Beneath the gentle arch of climbing roses, a single chair stands, not in a dining room, nor tucked into a corner of a porch, but here, in the open heart of the garden. Once it was just a wooden chair, worn and weathered, the kind that creaked softly when you sat. Now it has been given a second chapter, painted in pastel hues of blush pink and soft sky blue. Its legs adorned with hand-painted vines that curl upward as though growing into the morning air. The seat no longer holds a cushion. In its place, a planter bursts with life. Violets spill over the edge, their delicate petals mingling with soft ferns and tufts of moss. Ivy trails downward, brushing against the mossy stones beneath. Around the chair, fallen rose petals scatter like confetti after a quiet celebration. It is a throne, but not for kings or queens. It is for the imagined fairies who might visit in the early hours or just before dusk, pausing to rest among the blooms. Small ceramic fairy figurines peek from the greenery, their faces painted with the kind of delicate detail you have to lean in to notice. And when the sunlight shifts in the late afternoon, the chair seems to glow, its colors deepened by the warmth of the day. To create your own blooming fairy throne, begin by finding a chair that has outlived its place indoors. Sand it lightly to remove rough edges, then paint it in colors that feel at home in your garden. Pastels for a soft look, or bold shades for a statement piece. Protect the wood with a weatherproof sealant so it will endure through the seasons. Replace the seat with a planter box or wire basket lined with coconut fiber. Fill it with potting soil and choose plants that suit your climate and the light where the chair will sit. Trailing plants like ivy, sweet potato vine, or lobelia soften the edges, while upright blooms like miniature roses or violas bring height and color. Position the chair where it can surprise, tucked beneath a tree, beside a path, or under an arbor. Over time, it will weather again, but this time with grace, as the paint fades and the plants grow into and around it. The fairy throne is more than decoration. It's a quiet invitation to pause, to imagine, and to remember that beauty often blooms when we give the forgotten a new place to belong. In a shaded corner of the garden, where time seems to slow and the air carries the cool scent of earth, a pond glimmers like a secret. Its edge is not made of stone or brick, but of fragments, pieces of mirror, shards of glass bottles, and bits of sea-smooth treasure gathered over seasons. The mirrors catch the sunlight in sudden flashes, tossing it back across the water like scattered starlight. Green and cobalt glass from once-forgotten bottles add deep, jewel-like tones, their colors shimmering through the ripples. Around the pond, moss creeps up to meet the glass, and ferns bow low, their fronds dipping as if in greeting. A single miniature wooden bridge arches delicately over one side, leading, perhaps, to somewhere only the imagination knows. In the water, lily pads drift lazily, their round leaves cradling drops of sunlight. A dragonfly hovers, its wings glinting briefly before it skims the surface. Birds arrive in twos and threes to sip from the edges, their reflections fractured into 1,000 pieces by the mirrored mosaic. As dusk approaches, small lanterns tucked into the surrounding foliage begin to glow, their light joining the last glints of the day in a soft, golden chorus. Creating such a pond begins with a vision and a willingness to see beauty in the broken. Start by outlining the pond's shape, whether dug directly into the earth with a liner or made in a raised container. Collect broken mirrors, bottle shards, and any colored glass you can find. Smooth sharp edges with sandpaper or a glass grinder for safety, or choose pieces naturally worn by time and water. Use weatherproof adhesive or grout to secure the fragments along the rim, alternating mirror for sparkle and colored glass for depth. If you wish for an added touch of magic, arrange the pieces in patterns. A ring of blues fading into greens, or a sunburst of mirrors radiating from one point. Surround the pond with plants that soften its edges. Moss, ferns, creeping thyme. Add a few floating plants or miniature water lilies to bring life to the surface. And when the pond is complete, place a small bench or stone nearby so you, and anyone who visits, can sit and watch the light dance. This is the charm of a fairy pond made from the forgotten. Every shard once discarded now catches the sun, and every reflection tells a story of transformation. On a sun-warmed wooden table tucked into the garden's edge, a line of tiny bottles catches the morning light. Each one is no longer than a thumb, but inside they hold something that feels almost impossible. Sprigs of rosemary, mint, and lavender, dried carefully and dusted with a soft shimmer of gold. The light catches on the flecks, making them glow as though touched by the wings of unseen guests. Some bottles rest quietly in clusters, wrapped in twine or lace, their corks sealed with a drop of wax. Others dangle from low tree branches, ribbons fluttering gently in the breeze. When the wind moves just right, they turn slowly, scattering light and scent together into the warm air. Children, spotting them for the first time, cup their hands beneath as if something magical might fall. Gardeners smile, knowing the fairy dust is only herbs and glitter, yet also understanding that this simple beauty can be magic enough. Making your own fairy dust dispensers begins with small bottles, ones that might have held spices, essential oils, or even tiny crafts. Wash them well and let them dry completely. Choose fragrant herbs, either freshly dried from your garden or purchased in bundles. Lavender for calm, rosemary for clarity, mint for freshness. Crush the leaves lightly between your fingers to release their scent. In a shallow bowl, mix the herbs with a pinch of glitter, gold for warmth, silver for moonlight tones, or iridescent for a fairy-like shift of color. Use just enough to add sparkle without overpowering the natural texture of the leaves. Fill each bottle with a small funnel, Then seal with corks or screw caps. For display, decide whether they will be hung or placed. If hanging, tie them securely with ribbons or jute twine, adding beads or charms if you like. Hanging them from low branches creates movement and catches the light beautifully. If placing them on a table or along a garden wall, arrange them in clusters on a tray, perhaps with a scattering of flower petals for extra charm. Over time, the herbs will fade, the glitter will settle, and yet their quiet presence will remain. They are more than decorations. They are small tokens of care, tiny vessels that remind us that beauty can be both delicate and simple, and that even the smallest details can make a garden feel like a place where stories might still come true. Tucked deep in the folds of the garden, where moss gathers like a green blanket and daisies tilt their faces toward the sun, stands a tiny house unlike any other. Its walls are not made from brick or wood, but from the forgotten pieces of yesterday. Rusted spoons bent into curves, tarnished hinges shaped into windows, bolts and washers layered into a patchwork of texture and color. Every panel of this miniature home has been brushed with pastel hues, soft pink, moss green, sky blue, so that the metal no longer looks cold, but warm and welcoming. A gently curved tin roof bends like a leaf overhead, and the door, once part of an old keyhole plate, seems to invite you closer. Around the cottage, a path of smooth pebbles winds toward a small porch, while clover and creeping thyme grow thick along the edges. In the late afternoon, as sunlight slants low, the whole scene glows softly. Bees hum past, butterflies linger, and somewhere in the air there's the feeling that someone very small might open that door at any moment. This is no mass-produced ornament. It is the work of patient hands and an eye for possibility, the transformation of what was once destined for the scrap pile into something that sparks the imagination. To make a recycled metal fairy house of your own, begin by collecting small pieces of scrap metal. Old cutlery, hinges, bolts, tin sheets, or even broken jewelry. Clean each piece well and sand any sharp edges until smooth. Use pliers to bend spoons into curved panels for walls or to create awnings above windows. Hinges make perfect shutters, while small bolts or washers can form decorative patterns. Once assembled with weatherproof adhesive or small rivets, paint the house in soft garden-friendly tones. Pastels work beautifully, but you might choose brighter colors for a more playful style. Seal the paint to protect it from weather and add details. A tiny door handle from an old bead, a chimney made from a cut piece of pipe, or a miniature lantern beside the door. Place the house where plants can grow around it naturally, softening its edges and blending it into the garden's rhythm. Over time, the colors may fade slightly, moss may creep onto the roof, and the metal may wear into a gentle patina, changes that only deepen its charm. In the quiet of the garden, this little house will stand as a reminder. Even the most weathered things can become a home for magic. In the heart of a summer garden, where petals spill over in bright waves of color, there is a quiet gathering that happens each day. Monarchs arrive first, gliding slowly as if they own the air. Painted ladies flutter in next, followed by quick, darting swallowtails. They circle, pause, and land, not on flowers this time, but on something made just for them. Set at eye level among the blooms, the feeders gleam in the sun. Old ceramic plates, each one chipped or faded from years of use, now wear fresh coats of cheerful paint. Sunny yellows, sky blues, coral reds. Some are fixed atop slender garden stakes, their surfaces holding slices of orange, watermelon, or pineapple. The sweet scent rises in the warm air, invisible but irresistible to the butterflies. Nearby, a recycled bottle has been reshaped into a flower, its edges softened and painted, cradle a sponge soaked in nectar. The sunlight catches in the curves of the bottle, making it look like a jewel among the green leaves. feeders, the air hums softly with wing beats, and the garden feels somehow more alive. Making your own butterfly feeders begins with the simple act of rescue, finding plates or bottles that no longer serve their original purpose. Clean them well and, if needed, sand rough edges. Paint with non-toxic, weather-resistant colors, choosing patterns that are as bright as summer itself. Mount the plate on a wooden or metal stake so it stands steady among the flowers. For the food, fresh fruit is one of the easiest and most effective options. Cut slices and arrange them on the plate, replacing them every few days to keep things fresh. Alternatively, create a nectar solution using 4 parts water to 1 part sugar, soaking it into a clean sponge placed on the plate or inside the bottle flower. Position your feeders near nectar-rich plants so butterflies can move easily between natural blooms and your offerings. Over time, you'll notice their patterns, the times of day they visit, the colors that seem to draw them most, the way they hover just before landing as if deciding where to feast. A colorful butterfly feeder is more than decoration. It's a bridge between your hands and the wild beauty of the garden, a way of offering something back to the creatures that make summer feel so alive. And in return, they give the gift of motion and color, turning an ordinary corner into a living celebration. In a quiet corner of the garden, colors spill across petals and stone as though the air itself has learned to paint. The source is small and humble. Lanterns made from jars that once held pickles, sauces, or honey. Now, their glass walls are dressed in fragments of color. Deep crimson, cool emerald, rich sapphire, warm gold. Each lantern tells a story. Some bear the soft edges of old plastic packaging, cut into shapes and painted to mimic shards of stained glass. Others are brushed directly with translucent paints, layered in patterns that catch and filter sunlight into shifting pools of color. When the breeze stirs the garden, reflections ripple across cobblestones and flower petals, turning the path into a living canvas. As evening falls, small lights inside each jar awaken. Tea candles for a warm flicker, or solar LEDs for a steady glow. The stained glass effect deepens, and the garden feels as if it has drawn its own curtains of jewel-toned light. Bees settle for the night, petals close, and the lanterns take over, casting their gentle magic until the stars rise. Creating these upcycled stained glass lanterns begins with cleaning and drying your chosen jars or bottles. If using plastic fragments, cut them into irregular shapes and paint them with transparent glass paints or permanent markers. Affix them to the jar with clear drying adhesive, overlapping pieces to create a mosaic effect. Alternatively, paint directly onto the glass in patterns, florals, geometric shapes, or simple swirls that mimic old cathedral windows. To finish, attach a handle by wrapping the jar's neck with sturdy wire, leaving a loop for hanging. Place a small LED tea light inside for safety, or choose a solar-powered insert that charges during the day and lights automatically at dusk. Hang the lanterns from tree branches, pergola beams, or shepherd's hooks along a garden path. Over time, weather and light will soften the colors, adding an aged charm that feels intentional. In summer, the lanterns will glow alongside the hum of crickets. In cooler months, their colors will shine brighter against bare branches and frosty ground. These stained glass lanterns are proof that beauty does not require expensive materials. Only the patience to see color where others see trash, and the joy of letting that color spill back into the world. As daylight slips gently into dusk, the garden begins to exhale, and along a simple wooden table, small lights flicker to life. They are not candles nor lanterns, but tiny worlds held within recycled glass jars, terrariums that glow like captured fireflies. Inside each jar, the ground is carpeted with moss, still damp from morning dew. Pebbles form winding paths between miniature ferns, while a curled piece of bark becomes a bench shaded beneath tiny leaves. In some jars, a small silhouette of a fairy hovers mid-flight, frozen in time. The glow comes from a soft yellow LED tucked among the greenery, casting warm shadows that dance across the glass. No two jars are the same. One may hold a scattering of lichen and a single pressed flower. Another might feature a pebble bridge over a stream, made from tiny shards of blue glass. But all of them share the same quiet magic, inviting anyone who leans close to step, if only in imagination, into their scaled-down gardens. Creating a firefly-themed jar terrarium starts with finding old jars, pickle jars, sauce jars, or even large spice containers. Wash them thoroughly and remove any labels. Begin by layering pebbles or small stones for drainage. Then add a thin layer of activated charcoal if you want your terrarium to stay fresh longer. On top, spread a layer of potting soil, followed by live moss or small plants suited to low light. For the fairy element, use tiny figurines, miniature furniture, or handmade shapes cut from durable craft materials. You can even repurpose broken jewelry as decorative accents. For the fireflies, place a warm yellow LED tea light or a small battery-powered string light inside, tucking it between plants or under moss to diffuse the glow. Decorate the outside of the jar with twine, lace, or pressed flowers sealed beneath a layer of clear-drying glue. Lids can be painted in soft metallic tones or wrapped in burlap for a rustic finish. Arrange your jars together for a clustered effect, or scatter them throughout your garden for little surprises among the blooms. When night deepens, the jars hold their light like tiny beacons, blending with the garden's natural rhythm. The moss breathes, the glass reflects, and the glow lingers just long enough to feel as if something small and winged might be moving inside. In a shaded nook of the garden, where the air stays cool and the sound of leaves brushing together makes a quiet rhythm, water whispers into a shallow basin. The source is unexpected, an old metal sprinkler head, once left to rust in the corner of a shed, now reborn as a fairy water fountain. Its surface has been brushed clean, the deep rust transformed into a soft bronze blush that catches the dappled light. Water arcs gently from its spouts, falling in delicate streams that sparkle before they touch the surface below. In the basin, petals float, marigold yellows, lily whites, turning slowly in the circular current. Ferns lean close, their fronds dipping just enough to feel the mist. Around the base, tiny fairy figurines rest on stones, their wings painted in soft iridescence. A single smooth pebble path leads to the fountain's edge, as if inviting visitors, real or imagined, to pause and listen. The trickling sound is steady, not loud, blending seamlessly into the garden's natural song of bees, wind, and distant birds. Creating a fountain like this begins with finding an old sprinkler head, something with character, weight, and just enough where to tell a story. Clean it thoroughly, removing any loose rust, then coat it with a weatherproof paint in a tone that suits your garden, bronze, copper, or even a whimsical pastel. For the water flow, a small submersible pump is all you need. Place it in a shallow basin or container beneath the sprinkler head, feeding the hose discreetly through the back or underside. Surround the base with stones, pebbles, or moss to conceal the pump and give the fountain a natural frame. Adding details brings the magic to life. Floating petals or leaves keep the surface alive with gentle movement. Tiny figurines or miniature furniture can be tucked among the stones for a fairy-like touch. If you prefer a more natural look, let moss grow naturally over time, softening the edges and blending the fountain into its surroundings. By evening, the water catches the last of the day's light, turning the fountain into a small beacon in the shaded garden corner. It is a place of pause, of quiet beauty, and a reminder that even tools worn by time can be coaxed into singing again. This time, not in the fields, but in the heart of a garden where magic feels possible. Step by step, the garden invites you inward, not with bricks or stone, but with blossoms that never fade. Along the winding path, bottle caps once destined for the bin now bloom underfoot, each one painted with patience and imagination. Reds as deep as summer roses, blues that echo the morning sky, yellows bright as sunflower faces, all set together in petal formations that guide the way. When the sun is high, the colors seem to hum, their brightness matched only by the flowers growing nearby. Bees trace their loops between real blossoms and painted ones, as if unsure which are alive. In the softer light of late afternoon, the path takes on a warmer tone, each cap holding a little of the day's heat, the patterns glowing gently in the fading sun. Making a path like this begins with the simple act of collecting bottle caps from jars, soda bottles, or anything you can rescue. Wash them thoroughly and set them aside in piles by color. If you don't have enough of one shade, paint them with weather-resistant acrylics, sealing the surface to keep the colors bright through sun and rain. Next, decide whether your path will be permanent or seasonal. For a lasting walkway, embed the caps into a thin layer of cement spread over a prepared surface, pressing them gently into place in your chosen pattern. For something less permanent, press them directly into soft soil or sand, where they can be rearranged as often as you like. Patterns can be as simple as single flowers spaced along the path or as elaborate as full mosaics weaving together. Mixing colors and sizes keeps the design lively. Small caps for the centers, larger ones for petals. Border the path with low-growing plants or herbs like creeping thyme, so greenery spills gently onto the edges. Over time, the path will settle into the garden's rhythm. Rain will wash the caps clean, leaves may scatter across them, and the sun will bring out their brightest tones. Guests will pause, drawn not just by the color, but by the surprise of realizing what the petals are made from. This is the quiet joy of a flower petal path. It turns the most ordinary, overlooked items into something worth following, each step a small celebration of resourcefulness, color, and the pleasure of walking through a garden made with both hands and heart. In the heart of the garden stands a tree that is more than a tree. Its roots dig deep, its branches stretch wide, but its true magic is in what hangs from its limbs. Dozens of small bottles sway gently in the breeze, some clear, some painted in soft shades of blue, pink, and amber. Inside each one rests a rolled slip of paper, tied with thread, carrying a wish. Some wishes are simple: more sunny days, a healthy garden. Others are secret, sealed away with petals, seeds, or a sprig of lavender. The bottles clink softly when the wind stirs, the ribbons tied to their necks fluttering like tiny flags. The sound is delicate, almost like distant chimes, blending with birdsong and the rustle of leaves. A bench curls around the base of the trunk, inviting visitors to sit and read the wishes left by others, or perhaps to add their own. Children write in large, looping letters. Gardeners tuck in words of gratitude for rain and growth. Guests visiting from far away leave quiet hopes for safe journeys home. Over time, the tree has become a keeper of stories, silent but listening. To create a wishing tree of your own, begin by collecting small glass bottles, spice jars, miniature juice bottles, or any vessel light enough to hang safely. Wash them thoroughly and paint them with translucent glass paints for a jewel-like glow, or leave them clear for a more understated look. Prepare slips of paper or small cards, and encourage friends, family, or visitors to write wishes, blessings, or messages. Roll the notes gently and secure them with twine, ribbon, or thread. Add small natural touches if you like: dried petals, herb sprigs, or tiny seeds to accompany the words. Tie each bottle securely to a branch with ribbon, string, or jute. Vary the length so the bottles hang at different heights, creating movement when the wind blows. Choose a tree with sturdy, low-hanging branches, and place a seat or stone nearby to invite lingering. As the seasons change, so will the tree. sun will deepen the color of the ribbons. Rain will bring a gentle patina to the glass. And each breeze will make the bottles sing softly together. A wishing tree is not just decoration. It's a living archive of hopes. A gentle reminder that beauty grows not only from soil and sunlight, but from the dreams we dare to hang in the air. As the day leans into evening and the sun begins its slow descent, the garden takes on a quieter voice. In one corner, where a pergola stands draped in climbing vines, glass prisms dangle in a soft, shimmering row. Once they were ordinary bottles, green from mineral water, amber from old beer, clear from forgotten jars. Now, cut into long, slender shapes and polished until they gleam, they hang like captured rays of light waiting to be set free. When the wind stirs, the prisms sway gently, clicking together in a sound softer than bells, like the whisper of seashells. As they move, the last light of day pours through them, breaking into rainbows that scatter over the soil, the leaves, the petals. Blue lands on a daisy, gold settles briefly on a garden stone, green ripples across the grass. Watching them is like standing inside a slowly turning kaleidoscope. Creating bottle prism chimes begins with choosing bottles in colors you love. Green and amber bring warmth, while clear glass can be painted with translucent tints for variety. Cut the bottles carefully with a glass cutter, smoothing edges with sandpaper or a grinder to make them safe to handle. Drill a small hole at the top of each prism for hanging. Suspend the prisms from a sturdy frame, pergola, or tree branch using strong fishing line or thin wire. Vary the lengths so they move at different rhythms when the breeze passes through. You can add small metal or wooden beads between them for an extra layer of sound, though the gentle tap of glass on glass often needs nothing more. For the most stunning effect, place the chimes where they will catch the low light sunset or sunrise. The prisms will scatter color in unexpected places, sometimes landing on the same leaf or flower for just a heartbeat before shifting again. Over time, the glass may gather a soft film from rain or dust, but this only deepens their character. A quick rinse now and then will bring back their clarity. They will continue to sway, to catch light, to turn the simplest breeze into a slow dance of sound and color. At sunset, they become more than garden ornaments. They are little pieces of sky, refracting light into moments that feel fleeting and endless all at once. And so, as the light begins to soften and the last colors of the day drift gently across the garden, our journey together for now comes to an end. We have wandered among ideas that began as scraps and forgotten things, and we have seen them bloom again. Bottle caps turned into flowers beneath our feet, broken glass reborn as shimmering ponds, weathered wood transformed into a throne for blossoms. Each creation was more than just a project. It was a reminder that beauty is not found only in what is new, but also in what is renewed. That even the smallest fragment, when given care and imagination, can become part of a living story. And perhaps, as you listened, you began to see your own garden, balcony, or windowsill in a different way. A place where magic can grow from what you already have. Here at TERAFLORA Studio, we believe that creativity and nature are meant to walk hand in hand. That the act of making is not only for the eye but also for the heart. Every piece you create becomes part of your space, yes, but it also becomes part of your memory, a quiet witness to afternoons spent crafting, planting, and dreaming. If this journey has given you a spark, whether it is the spark to build, to plant, or simply to see differently, then I warmly invite you to subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you'll always be close when a new story is ready to unfold, when another simple object is about to take on a new life. Until then, may your days be filled with the gentle rustle of leaves, the warmth of sunlight on your hands, and the quiet joy of knowing that beauty can be made, again and again, right where you are.